11 of the fantasy baseball season, and he's a few hitters that look to drop this week. The first guy's Andrew Benintendi of the Kansas City Royals. So Benintendi, part of the issue with him getting dropped is he fractured a rib, and he's going to be out for who knows how long here is Benintendi. He's been dropped in 5% of fantasy leagues so far this week. So on the season for him, 8 home runs, 31 RBIs, 31 runs scored, 7 stolen bases, a 283 batting average, and a 340 on base. A pretty solid stats here for Benintendi on the season. But he went down the other day with the rib injury on June 13th at the Oakland Athletics. And Benintendi, it's been a nice improving season for him. No doubt about it. Going from the Boston Red Sox here to the Royals in an off-season trade to the last few games for Benintendi. June 7th at the Angels, 0 for 4. June 9th at the Angels, 0 for 3. June 10th at Oakland, 2 for 4 with a homer and 2 runs scored. June 11th at Oakland, 1 for 3 with a run. June 12th at Oakland, 0 for 4. And June 13th at Oakland, 1 for 4 with a homer and an RBI. But now with this injury coming down, we don't know how long Benintendi's going to be out, but obviously a fractured rib's a bad injury. It's going to affect your whole game of playing, swinging the bat, fielding the ball, and just everything. So right now, while he was having a pretty solid season, I don't really think he's worth the stash, especially if you have a limited amount of injured list spots. And right now, I think he's an easy drop this week. And if he gets hot once again as Benintendi, then you just go out there and pick him up once he returns. But right now, there's no timetable for his return. And this week, he's a drop. The second hit is Carson Kelly of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kelly, he was off to a great start early in the season and one of the better pitchers in all of fantasy baseball. And on the season for Kelly, 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, a 271 batting average, 21 runs scored, 391 on base percentage. But the last couple weeks, he's hit the skids here. Is Kelly, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a 189 batting average, and a 231 on base. So right now, those stats obviously are not good here for Carson Kelly. He's not producing, and even in the last month as well, he's only hit 183. So right now, he's way below the Mendoza line. And this Diamondback team, they're still going to put him out there each and every day, but he's not producing, and they've dropped him in the lineup as well. He was leading off a few times the last couple games for the D-backs, but they've dropped him to either 5th or 7th in the lineup. And Kelly, he just can't get things going. The last few games for him, June 9th at Oakland, 0 for 3. June 11th versus the Angels, 1 for 5 with a run. June 12th versus the Angels, 0 for 1. June 13th versus the Angels, 1 for 5 with an RBI. And June 14th at San Francisco, it was good to see him break out a little, 3 for 4 with a homer and 2 RBIs. So we'll see if Kelly could get on the right pace. But right now, he's just a player I can't trust. And right now, he's been dropped in 4% of fantasy leagues so far this week. The next hitter is Dom Smith of the New York Mets. Dom Smith, what a season it was last year in the 2-month season for him. And he easily was the New York Mets' best hitter in the 2020 season. And so far this year, in 2021, only 5 home runs, 22 RBIs, 17 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 244 batting average, and a 312 on base for Dom Smith. In the last couple weeks for him, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 5 runs scored, a 225 batting average, and a 333 on base percentage. So right now, Smith, he's not hitting the ball well at all this season with the low batting average. Not that great of an on base. And last season, we saw him hit 316 with 10 home runs and 177 at-bats. And already this year, with 193 at-bats. And his numbers are way down from last season is Smith. And Smith here, I know he had a good game yesterday, but that's only one game. And right now, he's not producing. And I think he's a player you could get away from and drop the last few games for Smith. June 8th at Baltimore, 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. June 9th at Baltimore, 0 for 5. June 11th versus San Diego, 0 for 4. June 12th versus San Diego, 0 for 4. June 13th versus San Diego, 0 for 4 with a run. And then yesterday versus the Cubs, like I mentioned, he hit a homer, 2 for 3 with a homer and 2 runs scored. But before that, Dom Smith was hitless in his last 4 games. And right now, this whole Met team, they're pretty much slumping a little bit. And obviously, a lot of minor league players in there batting on this roster with a lot of injuries throughout the team. But right now, Dom Smith, he's been struggling all season. And I think this week he's a player to drop if you're in a shallow league or even deeper leagues, in my opinion, he's just not producing. And to come already 11 weeks into the season and only have 22 RBIs, those numbers are very poor, in my opinion. The next hit is Nick Solak of the Texas Rangers. So Solak here, he qualifies at second, third, and outfield, which is great qualifications, obviously, here in fantasy baseball. And Solak on the season, 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, 36 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, but only a 230 batting average and a 304 on base in the last couple weeks for Solak. He's hit rock bottom, no home runs, 2 RBIs, a run score, 143 batting average, and a 211 on base percentage. So Solak, he's only got 2 hits now in the last 6 games for him, so it's a total struggle for Solak. Fantasy owners, they've gone away from him as well, dropping him already in 5% of fantasy leagues. And I know he plays every day for this Texas Ranger team, but right now he's just not producing, and he's not helping really much in any category for hitters in fantasy baseball. So the last few games for Solak: June 8th versus San Francisco, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. June 9th versus San Francisco, 0 for 4. June 11th at the Dodgers, 1 for 3. June 12th at the Dodgers, 0 for 1. June 13th at the Dodgers, 0 for 4. So right now he's in a tailspin. He's in a bad slump, and I think he's an easy drop this week. I know he's versatile and plays multiple positions, but right now he's not a guy I'm going to wait for this week here in week 11, and I think he's a hitter you should drop him. The 5th and final hitter I will look to drop this week is Jurickson Profar of the San Diego Padres. So Profar, he has some versatility as well at second and outfield here for this Padre team. And on the season for Profar, 1 home run, 17 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 30 runs scored, 18 batting average, and a 323 on base. But the last couple weeks here for Profar, it's been a total disaster. 2 for 29, no home runs, 1 RBI, 3 runs scored, and 069 batting average, and a 270 on base. So right now his numbers are piss poor. He's not producing, and he's just not helping in one category or anything at all here is Profar. And I know he's playing pretty much every day, but now the Padres, the last 2 games, have benched him here, and they know he's in a slump. They know he's not producing, and fantasy owners, they've dropped him in 3% of fantasy leagues so far this week in the last few games for Profar. June 7th versus the Cubs, 0 for 2 with a run. June 8th versus the Cubs, 0 for 2. June 9th versus the Cubs, 0 for 1. June 11th at the Mets, 0 for 3. June 12th at the Mets, 0 for 1. June 13th at the Mets, 0 for 0 with a run scored. And June 14th at the Rockies, 0 for 1. So right now he's not playing every day. He hasn't produced, and he's an easy drop this week is Profar. So that's a few batters I will look to drop here in week 11 of the fantasy baseball season.